Welcome to the FanDuel Punch Out. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at tonight's 14-game slate, and we're coming over from DraftKings and doing that pod. And it's kind of a different scenario here because the Coors bats they're priced up as their usual bump, but it's not as expensive as DK, and it doesn't put such a force on your lineup to really pay down elsewhere.
It's a totally different situation. I think we can use catcher as a perfect example. Buster Posey they blow you out of the water with his price on DraftKings. It doesn't make sense necessarily. But here, 4K, okay, that is expensive, but it's not out of this world expensive. So I think that's a pretty good example and kind of defines the difference between the two sides tonight.
Yeah, and I think you're looking here. Salvador Perez was kind of our favorite catcher on DK because of his price considered, and it still is a top catcher for us. But Posey's only 600 more here. It's quite a different story. DK was a little bit different. So
right.
Overall, I think Posey's kind of a clear-cut option, but I think Perez is kind of a close second.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Perez, that is 600 difference, so it is a teardrop, especially on FanDuel. But Posey, yeah, in Coors, he's in a great spot. So definitely my top option, and definitely someone I'm going to be targeting to pay up for at catcher tonight.
Yeah. If you're wanting to spin down a little more, Jonathan Lucroy at 3K is not a bad option. It's an average lefty there in Miller Park, and Lucroy, day off yesterday. Been struggling a little late after his kind of really his hot week and a half before then. So I'm looking for him to kind of get back on track, and he's at a price tag that I don't mind.
Right. And I joked before Russell Martin averaging 20 points per game in his last two because he had that one home run, that 1-2 home run game, and then a 0. But the zeros have been much more likely this year than anything else. So as a punt, 2,300, I'm okay with it, but don't expect too much again if you're punting for Russell Martin.
Yeah, I think Wellington Castillo at 29 is another solid name. I like these Diamondbacks right-handers. Castillo's another guy who's been struggling a little bit of late, so his price is coming down, but still average lefty in Chase Field. I think that's pretty favorable.
Agreed.
So punting wise, JT Realmuto 2,500. I like some of these Marlins bats for value tonight, and I think he kind of stands out in that range. Is probably about as cheap as I'm going.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
So moving on to first base here, and this one's different because Goldschmidt 4K is a guy who he's the most expensive option on DraftKings, and you get him at quite a discount here. Just because it's more recency bias with pricing.
I'm probably going to be 100% Goldschmidt tonight. I think you can do it with what his price is. I think you pretty much want to start off most of your lineups Posey, Goldschmidt, Conley, go from there. But yeah, I liked him as my number one option on DK, and he was 5,500 or something ridiculous and annoying and stupid. But here, it kind of changes the narrative even more because he's quite a bit less expensive than Ortiz and Cabrera. So I like this a lot. It would be tough to pivot down to Hosmer, but Hosmer is a solid play as well in a similar range. So that's there. Obviously, Ortiz is in play, but I just like Goldschmidt more tonight.
Yeah, no, I do too. And I think that $700 difference is going to come into play. And as you mentioned with Hosmer, we liked him on DK, but he was 3,500, which is an absolute value there. Here, it's a little bit different. And I think if you are looking for kind of a mid-range value guy, I like Encarnacion and GPPs. I think Kelly, with his reverse splits, certainly puts those Toronto bats. They haven't been quite the same this season, but they're certainly in play with their upside.
Yeah, I like that call. Jose Abreu again, I think we're targeting if that Royals White Sox game happens, definitely in on that.
Yeah, definitely. And I know Chris Carter was the guy you were looking at for GPPs 3200.
Right.
Got some home run pop against the lefty there.
Total GPP only, but I mean, he's always got that home run upside. So nice value there for 3,200.
Yeah, definitely. That's about as low as I'm going. I think first base is an easy spot to just pay up for tonight.
Yeah, the usual suspects. I mean, Adam Lynn, 2,600, but I think I'd just rather, I like the safety here tonight at the top. I think there's really high floor plays.
Yep, yeah, I'm definitely with you. I think Goldie at 40 or 4,000 is just,
Yeah.
you just have your sights kind of locked in on them.
Yeah.
So, second base here, and I'm not too intrigued with really any of the top options. I mean, both Cano and Murphy are in a lefty-lefty matchup.
Right.
Kinsler, I mean, should be back. I know he was dealing with the flu, but overall, I think Kipnis and Segura fitted a really nice price tag at 36 and 3,400.
Yeah, Altuve hasn't been doing much. Pedroia hasn't shown. He's been doing well, but hasn't shown tons of upside. I like Segura for his price. I think he should be more expensive than this. And hey, Joe Panic, 3,400. I'm in on that totally. If he's not 5K, you know what I mean? So I'm totally in on that tier. And obviously I like Dietrich because I like Dietrich pretty much every matchup, it seems.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where the difference is. It's like you get Derek Dietrich, you can get Panic and Coors for 100 more. So it's
Right. You're
it
not.
makes you think a little bit.
I'm taking Panic over Dietrich for sure. It's just it was weird because they were in such different tiers on the other side. But yeah, no, Panic over Dietrich. But I think I go Segura here.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And, if you want to go cheaper, Brandon Phillips is the guy I like. 2,600 there against Zach Davies in Miller Park. I think he's kind of my favorable cheap option.
Yeah, no, I like that call. What do you think about the Brandon Phillips, Gordon Beckham, Brett Lowry tier?
I mean, I think Phillips is probably my preferred play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind Duffy as far as the GPP goes. I think if you're kind of taking that back end of the top half of the lineup there, it's not a bad option. But once again, I mean, that's something if that game plays, but I think Phillips is just kind of my guy.
Makes sense.
So, third base here, and third base is kind of an interesting spot as far as price wise. 4,400 for Arenado and Coors against Matt Cain seems reasonably doable, and I know it's just another name up top that we're talking about, but I think you kind of pay down at outfield tonight, and I think you kind of roll with some of these top price infielders.
Yeah. I'm having a little connection trouble today, folks. So bear with me. But yeah, I think if you jump down to an Adam Conley or something like that, as you mentioned, with a lot of the high priced options we're suggesting, I think you can fit a few of these guys in. But anyhow, I like Arenado, obviously. Todd Frazier, another good value from yesterday's slate, one of the best values from yesterday's slate, at a reasonable price. And then Josh Donaldson, 3,600. I think that's a great value.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, Kelly, very average against right-handed bats. I mean, he's a very average pitcher in Rogers Center. I'm leaning towards Toronto more so in GPPs than I am in cash games tonight, just because they haven't been reliable. And I like Matt Duffy, 3,300. I mean, that's a reasonable price for a guy hitting third in Coors. I just think that's a favorable spot for him. He kind of, with that price drop, I don't mind spinning down from Arenado to him. So I kind of like both those guys at the hot corner there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that call. Again, if you can get any Coors bat for under 3,500, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, third base isn't really a deep position like some of the other ones. So I think Duffy's kind of as low as I'm going.
I think that makes sense.
So, shortstop here, and this is once again a little bit different. Guys like Villar and Cozart, Andrus carried a little bit more points per dollar value on a DraftKings, but still in a good spot here. But they're kind of close to a lot of the guys I would just pay up for anyway.
Lindor at 38 kind of takes them all out of play for me. He was one of my favorite plays on DK, and he was 49. At 38 here, I think that takes that whole range out for me.
Yeah, as far as Lindor is kind of my favorite. I like targeting against right with those Indians bats.
Mm-hmm.
Alcides Escobar 3,100. He's another guy hitting leadoff and same matchup. We talked about him yesterday being a nice value. This is gonna be one of those nights where I'm gonna try. I think shortstop's gonna be a spot where I'm hoping to find somewhere some value as soon as lineups come out where I can punt down.
Well, what about Gregorio Pettit, 2,300?
Hey, he's been pretty solid. He's been reliable.
He's been in the lineup. He's been in there.
If a guy like Nick Ahmed's hitting in the top 7, I'll give him a look.
Right.
2,300, your Western Mass guy.
Yeah. Oh, Taylor Motter going against DeGrom, but he's 2,100. This is kind of what we're looking at here because you are going to want to pay up at all those other spots. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is one of those
bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I think shortstop's going to be a place where I kind of punt just because there isn't really a mid-tier guy that I'm in love with over on DraftKings. It's a little bit different.
I think you could be weird with Bogarts tonight and get a nice advantage because I don't think he's going to be high owned either.
No, the way he's swinging the bat too, it's solid. Showing a little bit more power this season, so you got to like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at outfield here, and these top price guys, I think because we've talked about a lot of high priced infielders, outfield's going to be where I kind of pay down.
Yeah, just based on the way things were on DK, it almost made Mike Trout look like a value because there were so many guys priced above him. But I think I'm probably staying away here. I think there are other good values like the Coors bats and all that stuff. I don't think you mess around with some of these higher priced guys tonight.
Yeah, you look at Ryan Braun, 4,100. That might be as high as I go. That kind of puts a lot of guys up above him out of play for me.
Yeah, just going through that, you mentioned that tier, Kane, Saunders, Harper, not necessarily Springer, but I think those three, and then how about Denard Span at 3,900 instead of 5,300?
I still think that's too high.
Okay, yeah, not in on Span, which understandable, but I'm okay with Harper. I'm okay with Saunders. I'm okay with Kane. And then Braun, like you mentioned, I think that's a really nice range.
Yeah, and you look a little lower, and you get Cameron Maybin at 3,400, Jay Bruce at 3,400,
Carlos Gonzalez 3,500.
Yeah, he's the Coors bat who's fairly underpriced, and he's going to be a guy who you can fit in. And one guy who I like is Ryan Rua at 2,400. I talked about him on DK. Still a really nice value outfielder, 369 Woboff, lefties in his career. A pretty solid price tag. And Brendan Drury, 2,600. So I think both those guys in the outfield with the cargo is kind of a decent round out outfielder that's pretty cheap, and you can get some upside in a relatively safe floor because all of them are in great matchups.
And right, and this is kind of related towards that roster composition we were talking about with a lot of paying up early on in the positions. So yeah, definitely guys to look at there.
Yeah, Rua and Drury, two guys facing lefties. A combined 5K. That's pretty solid right there.
Definitely.
Anyone else on low you look at? Any punts you're thinking about?
I think those are perfectly acceptable. Melky Cabrera, 30 low threes. I'm okay with that. But other than that, unless you're truly punting, I really like that 35 to 4K range.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. Let's gonna wrap things up here with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content.